So let's now bring it all together as it relates to communication between the genders. What is that extra layer that is happening? And I know you and I were also sharing the fact that with all that has happened since October of last year and the Me Too revolution, and women coming out of shame and actually sharing their truth, and we were discussing how that's really going to change dynamics in the workplace.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you some of the things that are going on. I do, along with my partner Mary, that I was talking about before, Mary Civilla Communications. We actually do gender communication workshops now, simply because it's become so crucial.
Absolutely.
Number of top local executives who are concerned, especially male executives who are at the top of the heap, and they may have a woman that's their second in command, and they say things to me like, I don't think that I'm going to take this woman out to dinner alone because I'm concerned about what the perception is going to be. But I have no qualms about taking my male second in command out to dinner. And so, again, all that, what I worry about is this kind of backlash about women. It's not so hard to get to a certain place. And now we're going to have trouble because people are going to say, oh, no. So that's what it's all about. Whether you like it or not, men and women communicate differently. There are
absolutely
tons of studies out there. There's studies that show things like male managers don't give female reports as much feedback because they're concerned that they're going to be emotional. And so they just don't do it.
Right.
And women, on the other hand, maybe we are a little more emotional. Maybe we need to think about how do we cut that back? How do we make sure that we're cool and calm? And we have some techniques for helping people to do that.
Right.
Because it's just, it's both sides. Both sides have to work together.
Right. But I think what you hit on, Jane, is really important, which is because we have different communication styles. I have learned that in a corporate setting, what tends to happen, at least what happened to me, is that you tend to adapt your communication style to the predominant style.
Right.
So over time, however, it's almost like trying to push a big beach ball underwater.
Right.
You can't fight your nature.
Right.
And so understanding as a leader that we do have different styles and becoming accepting of that diversity, I think that's really important.
I think you're absolutely right about that. And that's, I'll give you a little example of somebody that asked me to help them with a problem the other day. They had a woman, there was a younger woman, a 30-something woman, and a man who was in his late 60s that they were peers in this law firm. And one of them said to the others, or one of the younger woman, for a long time, the man had been calling her kiddo, but he calls everybody in the office kiddo. And she, for a couple of years, felt that it was demeaning and didn't like it. And when all of this stuff broke, she then went to HR and said, I don't want him doing that anymore. Now, my thought with her was, if it bothered you the first time he said it, why didn't you say to him, I appreciate the fact that, and I want to learn from you because you obviously are well experienced, you're a very valuable person here. I would love to have you as a mentor, but I feel demeaned when you use that phrase. And I would really appreciate it if you didn't do it anymore. But instead of not doing that, she let it get under her skin for quite some time.
Yeah, and you know what, Jane? It's interesting because there's a lot of intimidation, right? When you are dealing with someone who's senior.
Right.
And I think what's happening is that now we're realizing that we can speak up compassionately.
Right.
We don't need to do it in a way that is scandalous.
Exactly. And we also don't need to take everything as having some hidden meaning to it. I mean, sometimes it does. But how many times in your life have you learned that you let something really bother you and you don't take action on it immediately, and then it's like an itch that keeps
it festers. Absolutely.
But if you dealt with it right off the bat,
yeah,
it's dissipated and it's gone.
So we need to own it, right? We need to really own it and take a step back. I always say sleep on it,
Right.
and then come up with a strategy to communicate effectively. I always say people can read your mind, and if you don't tell them what is bothering you, somebody may do the same thing to both of us. It may bother me, and you may be perfectly fine with it.
Exactly.
The person who's doing it has no clue that it bothers me.
Right.
So the only way that, it's my responsibility to be able to say it. Now, there is a certain, as I mentioned, depending on where you are in your career, how comfortable you feel, how confident you are, how senior you are, right? Those factors, I believe, play a big role in whether or not you take the risk. I know I was talking to a young woman the other day about the fact that she feels disrespected by her female boss. Yet there's another colleague that is at the same level she is, and the female boss loves him, gushes over him. And, it's one of those conversations where do you sit down with your boss and say something to the effect that, I feel that there's a discrepancy in how you treat both of us. And it's obviously a bias, right? Yeah. But I guarantee you that manager may not even realize she's doing it.
Well, and sometimes, if somebody's got a really sunny personality and they're a lot of fun to be around, it's easier to have a relationship with them than it is with someone who's
not,
or who's shy, or who's
right.
not outgoing, doesn't have that same kind of vivaciousness.
Sure.
There's so many different factors in play here. And I think that we really need to foster understanding. I think that's at the heart of it, is foster understanding, and don't walk in the door with the belief that it's us against them.
Absolutely not.
And I was in a very tough business for a long time. That, for the most part, at the top of the heap, it was run by men. There are some people who say it was a man's playground, and I don't mean anything sexual by that. I just
right.
they ran the show.
Right.
And I think that women who are older have learned how to deal with some things that maybe they just slid under the rug because they felt like it was the only way to get by. They had a
right.
challenge. If I challenge this, say 25 or 30 years ago, I may be ending my career.
That's right.
And so the road they took was the one of not speaking out.
That's right.
And I think it's too late to speak out about that now.
Right. And what Oprah was saying at the Golden Globes, right, is that you had to feed your family.
Exactly.
So the fear is that you're going to get fired, you're going to keep your mouth shut.
Right. And now I think there's an opportunity for women to actually speak up and speak out, and I think that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see men who don't deserve it get hurt in the process.
Absolutely. And I think the golden rule that I've always followed, and I've never had, luckily haven't had any blow-ups, is that if you communicate with respect,
mm-hmm.
regardless of the gender, you just communicate respectfully and professionally, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Men or women.
Yes, I absolutely think that's true. And be conscious that there are differences. And one of the other things that's interesting is men love to come up with solutions right away. And we, on the other hand, we like to think about it and nurture,
ponder, ruminate,
and say, well, now let's think about all the possible solutions.
Right.
And the whole thing. And the truth, that doesn't mean that either one is wrong. It's just
they're complementary.
Yes, exactly. And so if we can both put our heads together, we can say that's a great solution, but let's think about how we're going to get there first.
Absolutely.
And I think it's pretty cool.
The perfect example of that is when we're going to a party, right? So your partner is concerned with getting to the party, like getting from point A to point B as effectively and quickly as possible. And we're thinking, well, what are we going to bring? Right? We should stop at the wine store and pick up a bottle of wine.
Yeah. We don't have time for that.
Perfect example, right? This is how we complement each other, right? So I think we need to take advantage of that. So I know we're out of time. We ran over 5 minutes. It's 25 minutes already. Can you believe it?
Too. I love it.
I had a blast. So Jane, how can people who may want to work with you reach you?
Okay, Jane at Jane Hanson, HANSON.com. And that is my website as well. And they can also go to Civillo Communications, and that's CIVIELLO, which is Mary's website. And that's where you find out about the gender communications. So
I love it. Great topics, very timely, and people can reach me at fearlesswomenatwork.com. Jane, I had so much fun. Thank you so much for giving me of your time, your insights, and I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm going to follow up with you about working with you.
That would be fun. I would love it. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Sounds great. Bye.